Wolf with Civil Wolf TV. I'm back with another banger, part 7, OG Nitty. Give me some more live conversation. Prison story, life stories. Nitty, what's going on, baby? How are you?
What's going on? What's happening with you two family? As always, I start my interviews out giving a shout out to all the G's around the country and ask y'all to join in my campaign on my little brothers, Purple and Porky. Two real bloods doing real blood things. I'm trying to free them brothers. But,
all right, now I know last we stopped off at, we talked about you being reformed after you had spent like 7 years in. You start talking about your turnaround. We're gonna go back to the beginning, like when you first got in there. You know, a lot of people talk about like some of the notorious fights that be going on in the penitentiary and stuff. We can talk about if you remember your most remembered fight that you remember now, either yourself or somebody else, what happened.
Wow, well, that's a lot, man, because I say some good ones and I've been in some good ones. One of the ones is with my little brother Porky. He had been convicted. He had been convicted for coming in there, killing a dude. But the whole thing was that the dude's brother was already in the penitentiary when he got there. And this is why I love Shorty where I do. He went straight in there and beat your brother up. On some real gate shit. He went straight in there and beat your brother up. The dude sat down there and told him the first day, he said, man, look, man, I'm high. He said, man, I don't want to do it right now. You know what I mean? This and that. So he said, all right, the next day came, he said, man, look, he said, man, that's on you. He said, I know what I did. He said, I killed your twin brother. He said, so, man, let's go ahead and get it. And they went in that cell, they got it, man. And I'm telling you that it sounded like bombs was going off because in the penitentiary, the walls are steel, right? Most penitentiaries, the walls are steel. So you can imagine guys bumping up against this and they giving it their all in a fight. And the best ones is when neither one of them is a chump, so it's not a fight where everybody already know who's gonna win, right? And so that was one of the most gangsters one I seen. Like I said, it was real life gate shit. I've been in some good ones myself. I can remember times that me and guys have went in the cell and we fought. I actually fought one of my little homeboys one time, and it hurt me that I had to do this, but it was like a young lion against an old lion. And I knew eventually he would come for me, right? Because that's how I raised him, that's how I groomed him, right? So when he did, I knew that I would probably have to kill him. And I'm glad I didn't, because I did truly love Short. I do to this day. But when we got to going at it in there, because I noticed he was trying me. He kept on, every time that we get to rapping and we talk about, you got your war stories. So we in there, we rapping, and he would always say, boy, it couldn't have been me. Wouldn't have been me. See, in prison, these are all little telltales when you know a guy's trying you or he's getting up the courage to try you, right? So in prison, believe it or not, it's 90% mental and 10% physical. So you got to always be able to predict the next man's moves. What's thoughts, what's his intentions. So going to me and Shorty, it was just this particular night. I came from out the yard because at this time we was in North Branch. For people in Maryland and Baltimore, they know where that's at, and it's way up in the fucking mountains in the middle of no fucking way. And it's crazy because the prison sits down inside of the mountain. So your view is all day, every day, the mountains and the trees. That's all you get to see outside of a bird, right? And so it's so tight that in the newspaper, when it first was built, they called it the last stop. That's the second prison I was in that they built the prison around me. Right, so going back to the story, he started in again. Couldn't be me, wouldn't have been me. And so I said, well, what if it was you? I said, because I noticed you've been saying that a few times, so what if it was you? What would you do? And better yet, pretend it was you. Because I'm not somebody who likes to keep beating around the bush if this is what's going to happen. Don't get me wrong, especially at my age and my stage, at this stage of my age, if peace is on the menu, I'm good with that. But if all the rest of the bullshit is on there, then we got to deal with that as well. So, going back to it, he got all the bump, put his shoes on. So I knew Shorty couldn't beat me for real. So we get the clutching in there, and I knew he wouldn't be able to stand up to the blows. So we get the clutching in there, and he went down and put his head down. Worst thing you can do in any fight, especially in a cell. He put his head down, and I grabbed his neck, what they call it a guillotine, and I picked him up off his feet, right like that, to the point I was choking him out. And I heard the guards coming down. I heard the keys jangling. They was coming down the tier. My intentions was to hang him, and when they came around for breakfast in the morning, to tell the guards that he hung himself. I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't even see the little mouse underneath his eye at first. Right, so anyway, so when the police got there, and Shorty, he carried a G. He was definitely a G about it. When the police came, they said, man, what's going on in here? They said, man, ain't nothing, said we working out. And so the police looked at him and said, man, no, y'all ain't working out. They said, man, your lip bleeding. So he said, man, I'm good, man. He said, man, we working out, man, fuck away from the cell. Right? So it was like, okay. And he said, man, look, shift get ready to change. Y'all do that shit later on. Wait till the fucking shift change. Right? So, like, man, we good. And so I'm kind of at the back of the cell, and he was at the door talking to the guard. So I said, when they went on back up the tier, I said, look, I said, man, you know you my little man, but I know you. I said, so on some man shit, do I got to finish you in here? So he didn't say nothing. I said, I'm going to ask you again. I said, because if not, I said, there's no way I'll lay my head down around you. I said, so if it is what it is, I'm telling you now, I'm going to kick you in this cell. And I didn't think any less of him when he said, man, I'm good. Because like I said, it broke my heart that it happened, because it was the fact that I was hurting somebody that I cared about. And for anybody that had been a killer or had your profession as a killer, you know that the most hurtful thing that you'll ever experience is harming somebody that you care about. Because everything else is cold, as some people might think this is to say. It's just business. So that was one that I was involved in, and it was another kind of. It wasn't a riot, but it was a lot of guys fighting at one time. And in prison, they used to let us play football, and I never forget it. The building that you was in, that's the team that you was on. So I never forget this. We sitting in there, we get into it. So I think it was one of their, I forgot what position he played, but he swung on our quarterback. So our quarterback turned around and popped him, right? Popped him. So they was by the little bleachers and everything. And I remember right by the bleachers, a guy that slept in the other team's building, he took and swung on my quarterback. He popped my quarterback. So I run over there and I popped him and picked him up and slammed him on his head in bleachers. And two more of my teammates, by this time, I didn't even know who it was until I looked up at him, and they were stomping him and calling him bitches. So this turned into this big, massive two-building fight. And I never forget it, that when the police first ran to the yard and they seen so many people was fighting, when the code was first called, they wouldn't even come in there. They actually waited for police in other buildings. We had a jail across the street from us called WCI, Western Correctional Institution. And they had to get them over there to help them. And I remember standing in the middle of the field and a guy had punched me in my eye and started running, right? And when I grabbed my eye, only thing I remember is seeing the dude running and looking back at me. So I said, okay, it got to be him. Because I didn't even know who did it at first. There was so much going on, right? So one of my homeboys had seen it at the same time. He already chased him. So when I'm chasing him, and it was another homeboy of mine, he was like up the yard. He seen the two of us chasing him. So he reaches out, grabs him, pops him. And my other homeboy runs past me, pops him. So he tried to collapse and fall. I said, stand that bitch up, right? So we picked him back up, right? And I banged his ass, and then he tried to, like a lot of people do, they try to ball up these little small balls. I said, nah, you getting this. And I remember putting my knee in his chest and prying his arms open. And when I did that, I was able to stand myself up, and I just remember holding on to his wrist, stomping his face, right? Because he punched me for no reason. Well, I mean, he was in the other building, but goddamn, right? So it's things like that I seen, and then situations with myself where a lot of times guys in prison, they like to play in their own feces and urine. Something that me personally I think is disgusting and it's animalistic. So it used to be this guy in here, and he used to keep this VO5 bottle of shit and piss and whatever else he could find in there would be rotten and stinking. And he just hated me for being me. He hated me for the fact that I was popular and I was somebody in prison. And so so when we on lockup at the time, so he told me, he said, man, I'm gonna put this bottle in your mouth. That's how he would say, I'm gonna put this bottle in your mouth when you come for a shower. So I'm sitting in there like, man, but he's the type of dude that he stay behind the door. It's like, without him being on PC, but it's PC for him because he's never gonna let you catch him, right? Unless you just go to the stream, like I actually did, right? So he used to say this. So I never forget, we was coming off a shower on a Monday. So I got the guy that was next to him and the guy and on the side of that guy to deny their showers that day. And it was two other guys. I got my neighbor to holler at them and got them to deny their showers for that day so that I could get close enough to them. So when they was bringing us out, I'll never forget it, because I know how to slip out the cuffs. So when they was bringing us out, I had snatched away from the police, and it was a Indian dude that I used to have beside me. He made me actually a homemade straight razor.
And to take you back now, and you wanted to get him because he did what? What did he do?
He kept on threatening to squirt shit on me when I was going to the shower.
Okay.
So so when I slipped the cuffs, police, he froze, because he ain't know if I was coming after him or whatever the case may be. So it was other police who had already had guys, and they had the police actually had ran and left them.
Is you gonna get him?
So while I'm sitting there dealing with that, I mean, when once I snatched away from the police, they froze, and the police that was down the tier, they started running. I remember the guy looked back and seen that I was out the cuffs, so he started trying to run. So I clipped him, and when I rolled him over on his stomach, because he had on handcuffs, and I never forget, a police, when I went to cock back and I grabbed the side of his face and pushed it to the floor so I could hit him across his throat, and because I was sitting on him by this time, and the police caught my arm and said, man, come on, man, you ready to go home, man, you ready to go home, because, so the police had knew that I had already gave my time back, right? So I was so mad at this guy that I head-bunted him and I bit him on the nose. I tried to bite his nose off his face, right? Because, and I was so mad that I couldn't, and they maced me and stuff like that to get me off of him. And, you know, then they do this kind of football pile up on you, right? Once they get you down to the ground, right? But I was so mad at this particular moment that I wasn't spitting his nose out my mouth while they was on top of me. That's all I could think of. It was like they were so heavy, but at that particular moment, I was just like, man, this bitch still gonna have his fucking nose, right? And in situations like that happen in prison, you know, you hear about your knockout artists in prison. I can name a bunch, man. You got out of DC or PG County, you got the dude Kevin Hernandez. Out of Baltimore, you got the dude Joe Lewis, right? These another one out of DC, Timmy Poole, right? Out of Baltimore, he was prison's equivalent to Tank Davis, right? I can remember a particular one with him where a guy that's, you know, sometimes you got guys in there that they just say fuck it and they just swing on you for no reason. Y'all ain't arguing or nothing, they just want some smoke, right? So, and I'll never forget this, the guy pops him. Why did he do that? Because Lord Gerard was known for fighting, right? He was known for how nice he was with his hands. He actually boxed in the Olympics. So, the dude do it, so this is no exaggeration. How the young kids say no cat. He like 20 pieces dude, right? It was so fast and they were so smooth, and the dude was, he couldn't even, the dude was trying to fall, but he couldn't, right? Because he was hit him so many times. I would never forget, he looked back to see where the police was at, and when he seen the police already coming, he like, okay, fuck it, I'm caught. And I'm talking about, man, it was so many shots. It was head body, and I never forget, the dude was bleeding so bad that when the police got in there, and it was a lieutenant, I never forget, he said, man, get the knife, get the weapon. And the police was looking around at the record looking for a weapon, but it was no weapon. He wasn't stabbing them. They was all straight hands, right? And he had a bleed like that, right? So it's joints like that, man, that's just like so memorable. And you can have these for days, man. And that's kind of like how it be. And like, guys beef over a lot of dumb shit in prison though, right? They beef over a lot of dumb shit. I can remember beefing over dumb shit myself because before they took the clothes out of Maryland prisons, you know, I remember beefing over a guy that he used to have the exact same sweatsuit I had. He said like every time I come out to sell my sweatsuit, or he for this whatever reason he got his on. And so I remember me and him get into a beef like that, right? So it's so many things like that I guess people really don't know about, you know, prison. You know, like I say, you'll see some real good ones. My little brother Porky, once again, he fighting a dude named they was Savage. And man, they fought in this cell, and it was one of them ones that everybody was waiting on. They was anticipating that what's gonna happen if them two fought, them two fight. And man, they rumbled and rumbled and they rumbled. Man, this is no lie. For about, it was a while in the cell. I don't know how long, far as hours or whatever, but they did this for 3 days straight. And I was like, wow, they just fought, and you was like, in your mind, only thing you saying, one of them gonna kill each other. Because a lot of times, that's how that's how cell fights happen, right? Because you're in such a confined little space, and that your instinct, your killer instinct, your violence level goes to another level, because you're fighting for your life in there.
What if somebody refuses to fight, nitty?
Well, you go on PC. And one of the things, like in more modern prisons, that guys call it getting on the door. Right? That's when you make a guy kick on the door and tell the police, hey man, y'all got to get me out of here. Right? And so that's what happens.
So what they call make you check in?
Yeah, make you check in. Right? And it happens to a lot of guys. Right? One of the joints that when I was in North Branch, it was what they call an Ultramax. And in there, you seen that a lot. You seen guys get put on the door, and one of the worst ones I seen, because I guess the police didn't like this guy either, and cell buddy beat him up so bad that they had to wrap a towel around his face. He was able to walk on his own, but with the police assistance to hold his arms and stuff. But it was like his head had swole, right? And I was like, God damn, right? And that's how bad it was. And that's what I said, in these cells, you reach that level of rage in there, because you're taking out on somebody everything that's going on in your life. You're like your girl, your baby mother, your wife, whatever, leaving you. Your people's dying, your grandmother dying, your grandfather, everybody. And you've been holding all this in because a moment of weakness in prison, once you down, it can keep you down. So and you'll just be another victim in there. So you got this guy who he has all this rage pent up in him, and all the hurtful things that happen to him. Nobody won't take his phone calls no more. And mind you, in many cases we talking about free phone calls. Like, it really make somebody say, damn, am I so fucked up that somebody wouldn't spend 15 minutes to talk to me, to see how I'm doing, tell them how I'm going, what's going on with them. And this kind of rage is study built up in guys, and females too. I'm guessing in the women penitentiary, the female penitentiaries. So it's situations like that really take you inside of mind. And like I said, then you got two guys who their rages are versing each other.
So when they're in a cell locked in, who stop the fight, or they don't stop until somebody out?
You don't stop till somebody out, or somebody tap out. If a motherfucker say, hey man, you got it, he got to get on that door. If not, it continues. And that's what I believe that's missing even from the streets to these days. That's why so many these young cats out here, man, they dying because they're not fighting anymore. Like, they don't have nobody, many of their fathers and stuff and their big brothers and their uncles, was in the penitentiary, so they wasn't there to raise them.
So you saying like the guys on the street with the guns shooting everything up, they're going to penitentiary, they not surviving because they don't know how to fight?
Yeah, because a lot of them, they not, right? And that's why some of them, they join gangs. We're not going to say all of them, but that's why some of them join gangs.
Speaking of gangs, let's talk about the gangs in penitentiary. Tell me something about the gangs in penitentiary. Is it like they say they is? Do they control the penitentiary? Some of them.
Absolutely, they do. It's not. There's some of them like the prisons is divided up amongst the gangs, and it's like, okay, you can have, let's say in for Baltimore, you have the Bloods, you have the Crips, you have BGF, you have the Iron Brotherhood, you have DMI. It's not really nothing else in there. You might have one or two dudes claim to something else, but they know too they're irrelevant. The two biggest gangs in the Maryland prison system are the Bloods and the BGF. And it's like to the point of, you already know if you go on this tier, you have to be this particular gang. Because if not, then the police will just set you up. And see, some dudes that they come in there off the streets and they was never really tested on the streets. And so they'll say, well, shit, they see a few of their homeboys over there, they might be BGF, Blood, Crip, whatever. Right? Oh, another one from DC and PG County, Murder Inc. Right? They come in about third. Right? So, anyway, you hear say, well, man, I'm Blood, right? But other motherfuckers know him for being BGF. So, like, because you might have Bloods on the streets, and it's in there. They know him from his being BGF. So they see him, the word to get out. Say, yo, Jay. And the way it'll go is, the first thing comes to your mind is, okay, they have what they call sympathizers, right? And so this guy's trying to get in there with them. They say, okay then, man, if you try to fuck with us, then man, get at yo, man. You mean we gonna get at anything, man, that's involved with you. And for those who really do what they do, they be sincere about it. So anyway, dudes will see somebody like that and know that he might be sent over there to strike. So as soon as the doors come open, they'll strike him. And that's how I go. Right? It's like, it's so many stories like that, but the one thing in there, you can't fake it. Like, your paperwork gonna come out, or a nigga is gonna test you. They don't care who you is, big homie, little homie, whatever. At some point, you're gonna get tested, and you're gonna prove that you earned the respect that you have in there, right? And sometimes it can be considered as a subliminal message, right? That's why when I started getting older in there and I got into altercations, I would really try to be extremely violent, because you have to do this to keep the rest of the wolves away. You have to sit down there, because like I said, it's mental. It's 90% mental and 10% physical. And I had to do this. You had to be so brutal that motherfuckers say, man, boy, the old boy still got it. Boy, the OG, he still got it. And you see what he did to such and such? Man, he almost killed him. And for anybody who ain't trying to die, whether they scared or not, anybody who ain't, because I'm somebody who ain't trying to die, right? I had no fear of it. I'm just not trying to. And for guys like, you know, like that, you had, like I said, you had to be really, really fit. You had to be really violent to send that message. I'm not gone yet. Because it's like, I seen a documentary one time on lions when they get the beef, and one wants to be the head of his pride, right? And when the old king had been there for a while, but he then got old, and it was showing how vicious and brutal this was, because they would go out there, man, they would beef and bite each other and claw each other and all this. And then when the young lion had got the old king, his cubs, he immediately went and killed all of them as little cubs. And I was like, wow. But then I understood prison. Because it's like in gangs, you got sets. You know, for the Crips and the Bloods, you know, we got sets. So, and your set might get shut down. You're set because it's your big homie might turn out to have been fucked up in some kind of way, or he did something fucked up, right, under that pressure. So immediately the rest of them come for y'all, because no longer you can claim that anymore. And the way they've been doing it, it's like they might give you, let's say the rest of them might give you, say, hey, y'all got 30 days to find a home. Meaning within the sets. They said, man, you got 30 days to find a home. And on that 31st day, if you're not somebody that found a home, they coming for you.
What set do you belong to?
Oh, rolling 20s, NHB.
Y'all ever had that pressure put on y'all that y'all had 30 days to turn y'all stuff in?
No, but people, when we first became what they call prison wide, right? It was a lot of beefs, and we've had, now don't get me wrong, we've had other sets to come at us. Was definitely bigger than us and stuff like that. But we always, man, thankfully, and thank the blood gods that we came out on top, right? Because the one thing that I always try to put in the mindset of a lot of the young G's, man, was that when you fighting, you're not just fighting for yourself. You fighting for you to stay alive long enough to keep your brother safe. And see, and the reason why I used to do this, because I watched another documentary on war in America and how they send their troops over there. And I used to be so fascinated. Said, man, how can you take these young white guys, some of them come out of suburban America, and you send them to Afghanistan, Iraq, and all this stuff, and they be over there and be, man, these savage killers. But then I got to the bottom of my investigation. They fill them full of these movies and these documentaries, and they say, hey, man, if you don't stop them over here, they come to get your mother, your father, your little sister, your little brother. They come to our country to do this. So the fear of their protecting their loved ones was so overwhelming for them that it overwhelmed the fear of killing somebody. It took over the fear of losing their own life. Only thing they knew is, man, while I'm over here, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they stay over there and they don't get a chance to come over here and harm my loved ones. So I try to do that in prison. So, man, you're not just fighting for yourself. You fighting for this guy too. Because, man, he might can't fight as good as you. So he might can't sling a knife as good as you. So, man, you got to do twice of what you normally would. And that's what I raised him to do. I don't want people to misunderstand when I say raise, but that's what I groomed ours to do. Well, and I won't even take all the credit for that. For that is me and my little brother Porky, and it was just a thing that they went hard the way they did, and they still do to this day, because they don't want nobody to harm their brother. And I asked one of them that, and the first time one of them told me to hear my thoughts coming out his mouth, because so many times I used to preach this and talk this to him, and know that when he said it, he believed that, and he believed it as much as I do. Man, it was almost emotional for me. So it's that type of thing, but I like what we built. I really do. I truly do, because
meaning when you say what y'all built the Bloods.
Yeah, no, as far as the reputation that we built in the system, right? Because so much stuff that the normal society don't know that we do. We get together, we donate money to families, like families might have just dealt with poverty, or we done dealt with families who done their homes done burnt down, and you know, and we get together, we donate this. We done had breast cancer walks in there. See, this is the side of Bloods that people don't get to see, right, or get to hear about, because the naysayers and those who are in charge, they would rather keep us in a negative light, right, to the public, than to let public really know what's going on with us. You know, you don't wake up, and I'm speaking as a retired OG. When I was really, really active, I never woke up and said, man, I just want to go out there and hurt me a civilian. Never. I wanted to say, man, I hope that we really grow, because I want to better our communities, right? I don't want to, every time I see people in dress clothes, it's because they go into a funeral. I didn't want that. And just like in prison, I felt as though that a lot of prison sentences keep a lot of them young brothers, I believe that it keeps them underdeveloped mentally and intellectually. And so that's why I always push education, right? But yeah, we were just as violent as the next ones. But we also was violent for a reason. One of the things I used to always teach my little brother, I say, man, violence is okay as long as it's properly directed, right? And he said, well, what you mean by that, old head? I say, when you have an agenda behind your violence, then the people can oftentimes relate. See, because you're only as violent as the people allow you to be. Talk about society or society in prisons. You're only as violent as they will allow you to be. So therefore, you have to have a just reason for the things that you do, right? I talked to him, I groomed him on Chad Mile, right? And one of the things that they talked about that in his book was what they call a just and an unjust war. And that's one of the things that I believe that expanded us so quickly inside the prison systems, because you know we was already on the streets, but it expanded so quickly on the prison system because people looked at the things as us doing as being just. So the people got behind it. Many other sets got behind it. But that's kind of what goes on in prison. It's a lot more, but you know what I mean? I don't want to spoil y'all all at once.
What's up, everybody? Thank y'all for watching. Nitty, we appreciate you, baby. Appreciate your time. Like always, everybody, remember, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share, and comment. We appreciate you. God bless.